Welcome back to another video, man. So I'm gonna kind of briefly touch on a situation that happened yesterday with me and one of my co-workers. It wasn't necessarily nothing bad, but it was kind of one of those kind of uncomfortable conversations in a sense, if you kind of get the logistics of where I'm going at. So I got to work yesterday, man, and like I say, it just was a frustrating day. Like the day started off so well. I went and got a haircut. I was up. I was able to go eat me something before I got to work. I'm like, man, today gonna be a good day. I get to work and bull crap got to happen. Like as soon as I walked through the door, it just was this one was problem after problem, and it just was like it started getting aggravated. So when I got to work, I was so aggravated that I was like, man, you know what? And I went and sat in the break room, and I kind of just took a chill pill and just sat there and try to process like what is happening and how am I going to get through it. So it just so happened that one of my coworkers that I always talk with happened to be in the break room. So we get to chopping it up about like basically what I was telling him. So I'm trying to figure out what's the format of this video in a sense, like what am I gonna base it off of? And I kind of can base it off of two things, which is patience and just the frustration with the current state of men in today's world. So I'm gonna use that as an example. We're gonna use men. We're gonna use the current state of men, right? Patience is a virtue. Obviously, that's something else I might say for another topic specifically, but for this right now, since I got it flowing, this is what I want to talk about. So I get to work, man, and predominantly of what we have that where I work at are men, right? Because it's kind of a physical job. You have to be able to lift certain requirements to be able to work there. So obviously the forefront of the people that are going to be there are men. So I look at how lazy, how incompetent, how pathetic some of these men really are. And I look at the dating pool and like, man, some of the women that I talk to, I tell them, I be like, man, if you ain't got a boyfriend, I really feel sorry for y'all, man. Because it's like the majority of the low hanging fruit are boys pretending to be men. Now the upper echelons, the ones that usually elephants have to wrap their trunk around to shake for it to fall and hit the ground, those are the guys that perform as men. What would you consider performing as a man, Rob? Okay, I would say that accountability, self-accountability, right? Holding myself accountable is a part of being a man. Knowing that every situation that happens in my life in some shape, form, or fashion, I played a part there. I played a part in it. So we was debating, and I was like, man, I was telling him because I'm a manager at my job, and I was like, man, I get sick of having to keep repeating the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again to the same people. At some point, when are you gonna say, you know what, man, I'm tired of being corrected, not necessarily in a bad way. I have to step my game up to where I'm on the same page with my manager, to where he's not having to come in and do twice the work or three times the work that he should have to do because for whatever reason, whether I'm just incompetent or whether I don't view him as a manager because he's younger than me or whatever the case may be. Wherever you're not responding, at some point as a man, you have to push past it, especially when you have a family that you have to provide for, when you have a wife, when you have kids that's dependent on this income, when you have a job that gives you insurance. Your kids are depending on that dental insurance, the vision, the health insurance. All of these are perks of a job. Being a provider and a leader of a family, you can provide that with this job. So why would you mess that up? Why would you not come in and do your job to the best of your ability? So me and him got to going back and forth. And it was getting a little heated, man, because he was getting on my nerve because it was excuse after excuse after excuse. And this is coming from another grown man, by the way. This is coming from a man that's probably in his mid-30s, late 30s, pushing 40s with this type of mentality of excuses. So he was like, man, you got to think about what some people might be going through. And I'm saying, bro, I'm not discrediting that. I get it. But just like you're saying, think about what somebody else is going through. What about what I'm going through? What about the stresses of life and then even coming here as a manager? Because what does not get done within the requirements of my job, I'm held accountable for. Not you. It's me. My butt is out to dry at the end of the day. So the fact of you saying, oh, they're going through, that's no excuses. Because at the end of the day, I look at the men of the past that didn't have all these opportunities of which we have, that didn't have these jobs, the opportunity to get these jobs with these benefits and this money, and they worked harder with less of a less of a return than what we have. So that goes out the window, bro. Like, you can't give those skills. And I was telling him, I was like, man, a lot of times I don't feel sorry for adults. The people that I feel sorry for are kids that have no control over the situations that they're brought into. Most adults have control over whatever happens in their life, whether you want to admit it or not. Right? I just, a year ago, I came out of a breakup with a female that, looking back on it, I brought up some of that pain on myself because I knew that where she was at that point, particular time, was not where she was going to be a year from now. But when you're so stuck on the lustful phase of this being a beautiful woman, you overlook the red flags and you dive into a situation that wasn't meant for you to be in getting yourself involved in. So am I going to blame that on the world? Am I going to blame that on God? Am I going to blame that on everybody else? No, I'm going to take accountability for what I done. I don't give a darn if I was a good man to her. Look at it as a whole. She wasn't planning on being here. So why would you commit to somebody you know damn well that don't have no root, no ties? Her feet aren't firmly planted here. Another year, hell, 6 months to a year, you don't know where she gonna be at. You know what I mean? You don't know. This is right now. This is fun and it's exciting, and it has you bubbling off of emotion. So you say, okay, yeah, babe, we're gonna start something here, this, that, and the third. But look at what ended up happening in the long run. She ended up moving, and I was left. I was here left to pick up the pieces. That's where I got all these tattoos. This was a part of my recovery from that because that's how bad that hurt me. But I played a part in that. I'm not going to put all the blame on her. And that's what I was trying to tell him. But it was excuse after excuse. And I was like, see, that's the problem with the so-called men in today's world. They don't hold themselves accountable. So when you don't hold yourself accountable, you're going to make up any and every excuse for any and everything out there because you are part of that problem. The people that I'm complaining about, you are that person. So obviously you're going to back that person. A hardworking person going to back me and stamp me and say, man, you know what? I get that. Bro, in the last year, I went through my car going down. I went through losing the love of my life. I went through losing my monetization on my other YouTube channel, my sports channel, where I was relying on that money to help get my car back going. I was demonetized temporarily for that. I'm still working through that. I mean, the relationship with me and my dad had kind of old things started to resurface, and I kind of just stopped talking to him, and it brought up a whole bunch of old history, you know, and things of the past that I felt I was wronged in from him, and I kind of just distanced myself from him. So it was a lot, man, that went on behind that. But most importantly was the breakup. I was dealing with that. Oh, on top of getting garnished from, you know, because of student loan debt. So I was going through so much within that time frame, but guess what? I still got my butt up and I still went to work. I still went to work. The very next day after my breakup, I went to work. And I'm a man. I pride myself in being a man. I ain't saying I'm a man because I'm a tough guy and I can beat you up. I'm saying I'm a man because of my actions, how I maneuver, how I carry myself, the level of accountability I have for self. That's why I say I'm a man. And me being in touch with my emotions, bro. After me and my girlfriend broke up, the very next day I go to work. And it was a hectic day. That was a Sunday. Working retail on a Sunday, I don't know if you know how hectic that can be, or a weekend period. So yeah, it was times where I had to go sit in my car and go cry on a 15-minute break because I'm still so hurt. Something happened throughout the day that just knocked me down even further. Now I'm just like, now I got that. I'm dealing with the frustration of there, and then just the emotions all over the place from my relationship. So I'm out there in my car, volunteers, just trying to say like, bro, how am I going to make it through these next 6 hours, man? So my thing is this. Us as people and as men, and I'm gonna specify with men for this video right here, you know, and I'm not one of those people that feel like, oh, men are this above women ain't quite. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying in terms of my people and my gender, we have to do better as men, and we have to get back to the old foundation and the old guys that laid down the path. Like the guys nowadays, like most of these guys probably don't even know how to change a tire. Most of these guys probably don't even know how to check their oil. And I'm not going to knock y'all because I'm one of them, because I never had anybody to show me that. Everything as a boy, from a man, I learned myself. I didn't learn that from my daddy. I learned how to fight by myself. I learned how to talk to females by myself. I learned how to dress by myself. Like my identity and who I am and how I carry myself, I learned that from a lot of other males other than my father. You know what I mean? If anything, my father only showed me what I don't want to be. And that's how I want to put this. A fictional male, meaning not being active, not being present, not being there for those times, those difficult conversations when your son want to quit things just because it's difficult, not because he don't like it, but because he's difficult. He can't figure it out, so he just say, well, if I can't figure it out, I'm just gonna quit. No, let him understand, hey son, what you're doing now is a blueprint of what you would do throughout your life. You start quitting now, I promise you, everything else after that, you will quit. You will never learn how to work through adversity. You will never learn self-accountability. You will never learn self-discipline. You'll never learn any of those things if you quit. That's just going to be a continuation of how your life is going to go. You're going to quit everything that get hard. Anytime you're in a relationship and it's complicated, you're going to quit. You're going to break up. You're going to cheat. You're going to do something to mess it up intentionally because you never was taught how to work through adversity, or you never went through it. You never had to bear that storm. I done been through storms, bro. Like, I done been through storms, bro. Like, I'm talking about earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, not literally, but figuratively. Like, man, it's been so much, like all that stuff I was just telling you about, all of this stuff happened one after another. But me as a man, I never felt like a victim, right? Because I knew at some point I paid a part, and that's what he said. So he was like, well, maybe you just need to kind of learn how to, pull back. And I'm saying, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard any grown man tell another person or another grown man, is to remove some of your passion. Like, passion is what makes us as people. So you telling me to remove some of my passion is you telling me to dumb down who I am. And I'm trying to tell him, this is what I'm trying to get him to understand. Me as a man, I stand on certain principles. Right? Shout out to my man Hothead Youngin from Florida. He did a freestyle on the video, and in that song he was like, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And it's just certain things I stand on as a man that I'm just not gonna alter. Like, so me being lazy and me bullcrapping my job, I have to be okay with self. Right? I have to be okay when I look in that mirror and I look at my reflection. I have to realize that I'm looking at a man. Right? When I'm laying down in my bed at night and staring at the ceiling, I have to be comfortable with myself as a man. So I can't violate my principles just because everybody else around me don't have none. Like what type of man would I be doing that? You know what I mean? Why would I adapt to what's around me? I'd rather just stand on what it is so y'all can hate me for what I am and not love me for what I'm not. So you can hate me for being a guy who stand on foundation, who stand on morals and principles and values. You can hate me for that, but I'm not gonna have you falsely love me for being something I'm not, a man with no morals, no values. And so, like, I was telling him too, I was like, so you're making up all these excuses. I was like, so that's the equivalent of a man saying, oh, like, just say for instance with my father, let's say if he wasn't present, like he went in prison, and they say, why wasn't you present? Or I wasn't ready to be a father. Well, if you wasn't ready to be a father, sir, let me show you this simple math. That's why I'm gonna show you. That's why I'm gonna tell you I don't feel sorry for most grown-ups. So if you didn't want to be a father, let me show you simple math. A, why were you having sex then? Because we all know that it's certain things. For every action, there's a reaction. So the action of sex can be a multitude of things. It could be an unwanted pregnancy, or it can be a sexually transmitted disease, right? So even if you say, okay, well, why you didn't wear a condom? Well, you do realize that even wearing a condom, there's still a possibility that you can get a female pregnant. Like, y'all do understand that, right? Condoms break and things of that nature. Like, so it's not 100% guaranteed. And then you say, well, she said she was on a pill or whatever the case may be. 99.9, what about the other 1%? But you want me to feel sorry for you and abandon your kids because you wasn't ready to be a man or a father, but you was acting as a man. I bet you feel like the biggest man once you got done having sex. I bet you went and bragged to your homeboys and all this about when you first had sex or whatever the case may be, or sleeping with this woman. So if you could brag about that, why can't you brag about being a father? Right? So you want me to feel sorry for you because of a mistake you made? Make that make sense, bro. But that's what I'm saying. This is no accountability, because I'm saying it was a lady. Me and her are like this, shout out to her. If you know, she had a situation where she went through an experience that most people couldn't even freaking fathom going through, losing her daughter behind gun violence, behind an insane boyfriend, right? She has 3 kids. So she lost one. She still had 2 more that she had to still be there for, to help them with their process while she's going through her process, on top of her being a single mother. But this woman still comes to work. This woman still smiles as if everything is okay. She's going through what she's going through, and this woman helped me out when I was going through my situation. And she came to me and was like, hey, how much is it gonna cost you to get your car fixed? She was like, I ain't gonna be able to pay for it all, but I'm gonna give you something to contribute. And I telling her no. Like, I'm like, nah. She's like, oh, what's your number? Give me my number. She, gave me her number, yada, yada, yada. And like when she got my number, she's like, call me now so I can lock it in. She was texting me. I'm ducking her text message because I'm like, man, you don't have to do this. And so one day she seen it work. She just came and sat by me and stuck the money in my pocket and got up. And I was like, man, that's dope. Like for her to be going through what she's going through, man, and to still have a heart to give, like that's insane to me, bro. Like but that's the power of a single woman. That's why I respect a lot of women, because I was raised by a single mom. My grandmother, she was pretty much a single mom raising her kids. You know what I mean? So I know the power of being a single mom. You know what I mean? So I'm telling him that if she can do that and going through what she's going through, most of you guys aren't going through, you so-called men aren't going through half of what she's having to go through. So what's your excuse for coming in here and bull crapping and not taking your job serious? You know what I mean? But I'm going to touch back on patience too. This is another thing too with patience, man. We have to realize that every situation that we're involved in life, there can be growth from it. So let's say, for instance, with my job, right? It might be things that I know I need to do in my job or I want to do. Sometimes based off the situation, we can control, and some stuff is out of my control. So sometimes like, okay, I have to adapt to the situation and I can control how I react. Now that's one thing I will give him from that conversation. I know he was like, man, you ain't listening. I was listening, but majority of the excuses I wasn't trying to hear. But he did say you can control how you react to that. And guess what? All I could do is just be like, you're right. And I agree with that. So even when I had self-reflection with myself, I said, well, you know what, Rob, check this out. I get what you're saying about your responsibilities to your department or whatever the case you need to be doing. I get that, right? But at the same time, you can't control what you can't control. People calling out, not coming to work, people not showing up, people not being scheduled. That's out of your control. So all you can do is adapt to whatever the situation is. And that's what, like, if you know me, I'm a sports guy. That's what my other YouTube channel is about sports. I always talk about good players and great players and how great players can adapt to what they need to do to win whatever it is game that they in. So you have to adopt that philosophy in life as well and adapt to whatever the situation is. Most of the time it's not going to be idealistic. I'm pretty sure most single moms never anticipated being a single mom. Most single fathers never anticipated about being a single father. Most parents who lost their kids never anticipated that they was going to have to lose their kids. So everything is not idealistic. But at the end of the day, you have to adapt to what the situation is, man. So control what you can control and control your response. You have to mask those emotions, bro. Like shout out to Main Music. He a rapper from BR, and he talked about the whole beef between NBA YoungBoy and Lil Durk, and he was just like, man, a lot of that just stems from emotions, bro. Like you have to mask those emotions. You can't let your emotions override you and put you in a position that you really shouldn't be in. Sometimes you have to just be able to mask those emotions and just move forward with your life. And that's something that I'm gonna have to work on, man. So today I'm gonna try my best to use that philosophy today with work. I don't know what I'm walking into. It can be worse than what it was yesterday. It can be just like yesterday, or it can be better. But at the end of the day, what I can control is how I react and deal with it and just go with it as such, man. But man, that's it for this video. If you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, man, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, click that notification bell, man, because like you guys see, there should be 2 days in a row. So I'm trying to get back consistent, man. So bear with me, but I got more content coming. Stay tuned, and I'll see y'all in the next video.